Righto, guys. Thanks for being on Shootin The Breeze this week with us. Today we've got Brendon from Carroll Builders and Geof from Extreme Auto in Adelaide there. Talk to us a bit about what you guys do, how you got in the car industry, what you're still doing in the car industry, and a bit of background on what you're doing. We'll start with Brendon. I always start from where I am on my screen and then work my way across. I don't get confused then.
Yeah, no worries.
So, yeah,
all right.
So go for it, mate.
I guess early beginnings for me, my father was in the car industry, sold new cars in the late 70s, going back in Doncaster in Melbourne, brand new Fords. So a lot of stories there of what they used to do back in the day of riding off new cars under the influence, all that sort of stuff, and get away with it. So I grew up in a car yard, really. We did have a house, but, you know, every holidays or Saturday I'd go to work with Dad, and, you know, you'd learn about all the different cars, how to program the stereos before your mates even knew how to turn on the fan. So it was a good exposure. And I guess Dad was a great wheeler and dealer in that sense too. So he was always putting together deals, which sort of, you know, you need a lot of drive in that sort of industry, which I guess is equivalent to, I don't know, it's pretty cutthroat. So he's always out there, proactive, small businessman. And I think that's a good DNA that I got programmed with, because later on I went and worked for the big corporates at GM and always struggled with the pain and process with those bigger businesses.
Is that because it was slow or just because it was huge, you have to deal with so many people? Why was that?
Yeah, just a big ship and processes, and I understand why processes are there, but they do slow down and you lose your flexibility the bigger you get. So obviously, like with what you do, Greg, it's something, if you got a problem, you resolve it there and then in the next 10 minutes. You don't have to have a meeting and shoot emails and include everyone in it, which is, you know, frustrating when you're trying to get things done.
Yeah.
So,
that makes it hard. Yeah.
I guess cars, you know, your dad bringing home a different car every night, one off the yard. Always had an excitement for cars, and sort of just, you know, it's just in me. I then later went on and studied automotive design, industrial design, which I think I was fortunate at the time because the industry's gone now, but there still was an industry that you could get a job at Holden Ford or Toyota and be influential in what we saw as local product on the road, which unfortunately now is a thing of the past. So as opposed to the young guys going through it today, you know, they're going to have to go abroad to get jobs in the automotive industry. I was fortunate. I finished early 2000s and the industry was still around. So I worked for General Motors for 15 years and worked at the fabrication studio there. So we built all the concept cars there down in Fisherman's Bend, which I guess to car guys, it's a dream job. You've got all the money, you've got all the facility, you're always up against time, and you built these things that, you know, were scratch-built concept cars. So there's a lot of people there in that process too to get that job done, and a lot of talented people, which is still around. And those guys have divvied out sort of into the industry these days, where you might have like CAD engineers, surface modelers, stylists, all that sort of thing. And there's guys working at Kenworth, Packard now. Some of the guys have gone on to run their own sort of, you know, restoration side of things too, take that talent there. Other guys, which you guys know, Chad, he's taken what the process of the, I guess, automotive is, the scanning and 3D modelling, and taking that to, you know, help, you know, what we would have is that old school sort of fabrication, which would predominantly be sheet metal panel shop style, and help evolve, you know, the builds, fast track and make things that couldn't previously have been done. So it's good to see, you know, there is a lot of talent out there, and they are evolving, you know, what we see and what we do, how we play with cars, all that sort of thing.
So where did it go from there? From when? So obviously Holden was shut, or you left before they shut?
Yeah, I was fortunate to leave. Look, I don't know if it's a good thing to leave before they shut. I think the guys still got looked after in that sense. I had started a business on the side, which is Car Builders. And that, fortunately for me, that grew to a point where I was too busy to be at work. So I had to take time off. And that's when I learned GM's a great company to work for. Typically, female staff would know the policy there. So I was able to take 12 months leave to pursue other interests with permission of management and everything, which gave me, a fallback in the sense that I went full-time in my business, and there was no turning back from there. So after that point, I resigned, which was about 2018. And we've really, put a lot more into what we can with car builders to make it where it is today. So
yeah. That's good. Now,
That's
Geof, just catch up with Geof for a second there, because he's sitting back there, being interested by the looks of it.
No, that was, Richard was at Holden's, I was at Mitsubishi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what were you doing? What were you doing there? Because Mitsubishi was the big South Australian sort of plant, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we'll go back to the start. So why I got into cars, like my mum used to bribe me with toy cars. So we go shopping every Thursday or Friday, and Mum would say, if you're a good boy, I'll buy you a Hot Wheels car or a Matchbox car. And I was quite smart, so I was a good boy, and I had like hundreds of Matchbox cars and things like that. So, and it's a funny story. Like my first hot rod, which I tell you, it's in the cabinet over here. My first hot rod is actually the first hot rod I built. So I had a little toy, and I turned that toy into my real car. So my Black 32 with the flames, that's actually a bit of a replica of my first ever toy hot rod car.
Oh wow, that's cool, eh? Yeah.
So start off with cars, and then I can remember I was playing cars in front of the TV, watching Elvis Presley, Viva Las Vegas, and my grandmother said to me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be a mechanic like Elvis." So that was when I was 10, and then when you're 16, you're at year 11 at high school, and you start doing applications for jobs and everything. And I was playing footy for South Adelaide, and my mum's here to me, "Oh, why don't you go for a job at Mitsubishi? They're doing the exams." And I mean, I don't want to work at a car factory. Oh, yeah, I'll just go anyway. And I did the exam, and I did it right in the exam, so got an interview. So sort of first test, first interview, first job. So that's how I started as an apprentice mechanic at Mitsubishi.
Yeah, right.
And there's good things about and bad things about being at a car company. One of the bad things is you just learn all about Mitsubishis. So I had to fix cars on the weekends at home to learn about, Holden boards and Toyota, things like that. But some of the cool things that I did was I built a Shell mileage marathon car. So made our own little engine, and it was at Amaroo when Amaroo was around. Yeah. And we built this little car, like cigar-shaped thing with bicycle wheels. It did 784 miles to the gallon.
Wow.
So we learned how to do that. Another thing was we got to, play with press cars. So this is when JA Starions were out, AB Cordia Turbos, AA Cordia Turbos and all that. So you get to take those home for the weekend, Galant VR4s. And that led to Rally Art. I was a third year apprentice, and the Group A Starions were based in Adelaide at Royal Park. Bob and John Murphy and John Grant, they were like Rally Art Adelaide. So, and John Grant needed a helper. So because I'd done the Shell mileage marathon car, they knew I was into motorsport and things like that. So they got me to work on the Group A Starions. So I was like the parts bitch sort of thing. Yeah. The guy that pulls the wheels apart and gets the lunches and changes the oil. But I didn't care. I thought I had the best job at Mitsubishi.
Oh, I got to tell you, I probably reckon you would have had the best job at Mitsubishi as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And I was still an apprentice then. And then with Mitsubishi, you move to different areas. So there's Lonsdale, you're building engines, a service department where you're servicing cars or fitting air conditioning, tow bar, mud flat, pre-delivery. You work on the end of the production line. So there's electrical areas. So you're fixing cars that come off the production line that, the headlights don't work and someone's pinched a wire. Or you do mechanical rectification. Someone didn't bleed the brakes properly. You work in warranty department. You work in experimental engineering. So I did some test driving and experimental. Built a few cars before they came out. So, for example, the TR Magna, the fuel injection intake rails for those were bigger than what was on the TM Magna. So we had to build out a firewall and things like that. And then Mitsubishi used to have an issue. Well, did have an issue. Like older people were buying Mitsubishis and they were having this unintended acceleration. So people were hitting the accelerator instead of the brake. So we had government officials come to Mitsubishi, and I had to rig it up so that it was like surprise unintended acceleration on the car, and the officials from the government had to put the foot on the brake. So we had to prove that, you know, the brakes were good enough to hold the car.
Yep, yep.
So at Tail and Bend, which is now the Bend Motorsport Park, so at Tail and Bend used to be the old Mitsubishi test track. So I'm in the back seat of the Magna, and I've hooked up an accelerator cable underneath the back seat. The government guys don't know, and we just like cruise along the drag strip, bloody blah, and then I just go yank it, and I do wide open throttle, and then they've hit the brakes and it stopped. So, you know, like fun stuff like that.
I've got to ask. I have to ask here. So, what safety precautions were involved in that? Like, because you're sitting in the car holding the throttle on.
None.
Good old days, eh?
Well, I knew it was going to stop. I knew it was going to stop, sort of thing. So, I knew it was going to. Well, I held it on, and I could release it.
Oh yeah.
So I had control of it, but obviously I held it on until they stopped, and they could, it's not going anywhere, right? And then I can back out of it, sort of thing.
Yeah. That would have been really cool to do. That would have been something else.
Oh no, there's a better one. So,
really?
So what we used to do when you had a new mag wheel, we used to do like a tyre slashing exercise. So what you'd have to simulate like a tyre deflating at 100 kilometres an hour, and the car had to go straight. Like, so you've got a flat tyre, like a blowout, and you have to drive, see if the car drove straight or went all over the place. So you're on a test strip, and there's this little metal plate about this big, A4 size, and it's got this little blade on top of it with a little cable on it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a rabbit trap. You had to run over something, and then the blade came across and it cut the tyre.
Yeah.
So you're doing 100 kilometres an hour on a line, and you're going to go over this thing, and it cuts the tyre, and then you've got to hit the brakes and go. So that was
about real world.
It was. So every set of alloy wheels that we got, new designs, we had to do that. And we had to do it like, 15, 20 times. So you take a big car trailer full of tyres up there and just like shred them.
So at what point did they go, oh, this is probably dangerous. We might make a machine that'll simulate this. Or did they never do that? They just kept going?
Not when I was there.
Really?
that was the 80s, mate.
So what was it? Just look around for the young bloke that's standing around going, oh, mate, you're not doing a lot today. Can you go out and test some tyres for us?
Yeah. You're not very valuable, off you go. It doesn't matter if we lose you. You're only like 21, 22, doesn't it? So that was that. So after engineering, I went to a thing called product quality assurance, which is if you have a problem, say Magnas, TR Magnas or TE Magnas had problems with brake judder. So I had an engineer and a technician. I was a technician. So the engineer would work out how we were going to, fix his brake judder issue. So he would come up with the fixes, and I would work on the car. Then we'd go for like road tests, and we'd go for road tests down at Galil for a Euros, when the sun was out. and then sometimes we actually road test the cars properly. So that was one of the best jobs at Mitsubishi, product quality assurance. And then from there, I worked in parts and accessories. And the last job I had there, I was the service training manager. So I was basically a school teacher. I teach the mechanics, the dealership mechanics, how to fix cars.
Yeah.
So that was my last job there. And then a bit like Richard sort of thing, I had a side gig.
Yeah.
So I sort of looked at the guys at Mitsubishi, and there wasn't really anyone there that was doing anything that I wanted to be. So I came up with a proposal, like it was a 6-page proposal. I gave it to the big boss, one of the big bosses I knew at Mitsubishi, about how we're going to make Mitsubishi cool, because it was a cardigan wearers company.
Good luck.
And I gave him all these ideas, and he rang me up in a couple of days, come over and have a chat about this. And he said, mate, there's some fantastic ideas, but he said, the Japs won't go for it. I'm here. Oh, okay. So I knew that my future wasn't there. It was somewhere else.
Yeah.
So a mate of mine in Melbourne was selling wood grain and carbon fibre interiors for cars, Pajeros, Land Cruisers, things like that. And he said, we're doing quite well in Melbourne. We haven't got anyone in Adelaide. So Thursday night and Saturday mornings, I'd run around to all the dealerships. Here's a wood grain kit for a Pajero. Stick it on. Oh, mate, that's fantastic. And they sell the car a week later. Well, they love the wood grain. So that grew. So, and
Must have been the 90s, was it?
Pardon?
Must have been the 90s, was it?
Yeah, 96.
Yeah.
96 it was, yeah.
I do recall the old man sticking that stuff on all the cars in the yard at the same time.
Yeah, EF Falcons, EA, EFLs.
Yeah, he had it for Mercs and stuff. But funny to see those trends of products, and I was aware of as a young bloke, you know, you'd have the guy in the van who'd come in with the dealer accessories and he'd be putting hubcaps, chrome wheel arch stick-on stuff, pinstripe, all that stuff, all those accessories there. I'm seeing some of them sort of come back now.
Yeah.
It's a bit dangerous.
Yeah.
It is. So, and that was a trend at the time. And then, so I had a friend who was a girl, like pretty skinny blonde, and she was in the cars. So, and she was looking for a job. So I sent her out to the car yards, and she was sticking these wood grain kits on and stuff like that. And then the phone started ringing. You know, like it started to get busier. People wanted that stuff. So I'm thinking, over the Christmas.
You're talking about the wood grain still, are you, Geof?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, she didn't go out with any. Oh, yeah, she did. She ended up going out with one of the car salesmen, yeah. So what was happening, that was going well. And so over Christmas holidays, I thought, right, if I get stuck into this, we'll see how it goes. So for those 3 weeks, I hit it hard. And I earned the same amount of money in those 3 weeks as I did at Mitsubishi. Yep. So I figured, hey, I'm onto something here. So when I went to management and said, hey, this is my dream job, this is what I want to do, and, you know, get rid of the karting and for Mitsubishi. And they've come back and they said, oh, look, you know, Japs won't go for it. I'm thinking, well, I'm out. So it was like March 1997, left Mitsubishi. And I remember I went to the Melbourne Grand Prix sort of thing. I was doing V8 Supercars then. I was working for Chris Merton doing V8 Supercars.
Yeah.
So, I went over there and then sort of never looked back. So I started a company called MTech. And we started off doing like wood grain and carbon. Then we did, you know, steering wheels and gear knobs, and then like body kits. And then we used to do the white face gauges for cars, like Commodores and Falcons and Lancers. Yeah. And at one stage, we were the #1 guys in Australia for white face gauges.
Really?
They manufactured here, Geof? Or?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, in South Australia. Yeah, all the gauges were manufactured in South Australia, like 2 minutes from my house.
Back when we could do that.
Yeah, we can still do it. Yeah, I'll just show you something. Just hold on.
All right. Yeah. We'll just talk amongst ourselves here.
Yeah, just
while you guys get the beer, I suppose.
I hope he's not going to pull out one of those earth strap accessories, you know.
See that?
Look at that.
That's like VL Commodore. All right. So it's got like, I don't know, you can see it's got carbon fibre on it and stuff like that. Yeah. So the guy that used to make them for me, like I haven't seen him for, I don't know, 10 years.
Just hang on a second, Geof. So that there, is that an old stock thing, or is that something you still have to sell?
I can steer, well, the guy that made these for me, like, so I had the company for 10 years and I sold it in 2006. And so I didn't do white gauges anymore or anything like that because I sold the business. And then the guy that took over the business eventually ran it into the ground and it's finished. So there's nobody making these. So the guy that used to make these for me coincidentally rang me last week. Hey, I'm going through all these boxes of stuff in my thing, and there's 232 of these things laying around. Do you want them? I mean, what are they? And it's, there's VL and VR and VS and VT Commodores and stuff like that. So I've got a whole heap of them again.
Perfect. What's old is new again.
Yeah,
exactly right. So, well, I put this on my Facebook thing on Marketplace, and I've got all these. Oh, mate, you know, can I get one of these for my fully sick VL Calais?
Beautiful.
So
you better get him making them again.
Well, all the dies and everything are ready to go. Like I could just push the button and bang, they're back into business. So
really,
I'm wondering if you're going to hit the demographic with this video here, Greg. Yeah. I'm surprised, baffled, and we're working with Rare Spares at the moment. And the amount of product they're developing for those generation cars now is, you know, to me, they're just old Commodores. They're not a huge thing, but the love that some of the guys have now for them.
I don't know if you can see it in my video, in my screen. There's a VH.
Oh, yeah. You can see the corner of it.
About there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commodore cool now, and they're starting to bring money. You're like, Try buy a decent VNSS for like under 20 grand. You can't.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, they're all going up and up and up, and the parts are really hard to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because a lot of guys are spending a lot of money on Commodores now. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So we was okay. So the gauges and stuff. Oh, but I sort of skipped a bit there. So from 1990 to 2000, I did V8 Supercars.
Right.
And in Adelaide for a guy called Chris Smurden. And I'll tell you a quick funny story about that. So this is when we were going from Group A to V8 Supercars. So there's a meeting in Melbourne, and it's about how we're going to put together V8 Supercars, like the formula for it.
Oh, right.
And Chris, the owner, couldn't go, so he sends me. So there's this 25-year-old kid with a mullet, gets on a plane.
The mullet's back as well, mate. You've got gauges and the mullet. If you could only grow the mullet back now.
Well, I can't do anything with the hair now. But,
don't worry, I'm batting for you too, all
right? Okay. I should wear a hat there.
I'll send you one of these car builders ones over, mate, all right?
Yeah, no problem. Done. So anyway, like I'm in this meeting. It's in some suburb in Melbourne. There's Mark Geof, Seaton, Perkins, Johnson, Stone Brothers, and then walks Peter Brock. Now, back then, Peter Brock was like my idol. Yeah. And he walks in, this big whiteboard, and he walks in, we must entertain the fans. Like that. And I'm just looking at him, I'm thinking, well, that's what we got to do. Yeah. So we're all going around with, what sort of heads, what sort of gearboxes, what sort of ratios, what sort of diffs and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Like, these are all legends. And then I'm just a guy with a mullet from Adelaide. I've got no idea what's going. Well, I had an idea, but not anything like that. So anyway, Scafey's worked out that I'm the lowest ranking person in the room. Thinking, Geoff, we're going to break for lunch soon. Do you reckon you can go down and get the lunches for us? Yeah, no worries. Just down the road, little shop. It's already pre-ordered. Just some sandwiches. All right, no problems. So I've got a taxi there. So I start walking down the road, and I'm thinking, this is a fair way away. So I start jogging down the road. And anyway, I get the sandwiches sort of thing, and there's a few pies and parsies and stuff in there. So there's some hot stuff in there. And I'm thinking, shit, I'm going to have to run back. And it's uphill, of course. Oh. So I run back. I don't want Peter Brock to have a cold pie. So I get to the bottom of the stairs. Like I used to play footy years ago, but that was years ago. And I'm standing there, and I'm all red and sweaty. And I'm thinking, I can't go in like that. So I've caught my breath, and I've gone upstairs. And Scapey's here, mate, you run a marathon. What's wrong? I said, the shop's a fair way away. He said, didn't you have a car? He said, no, bugger, I would have given you the keys to my clubby. You could have gone down and got it in that. Bugger, I could have given Scapey's clubby. So, but yeah, so that's one of my V8 Supercar stories. So that's how it first started.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is so cool. Yeah. So where did you go from there?
Well, 12 months later, I cut my mullet off because I was going to drive. I was going to driver's briefing, and I looked a bit, who's that young kid over there? Oh, he's running that V8 Supercar team. Really? So I cut the mullet off. So that was from 1990 to 2000. And then in 2000, I opened a shop for MTech. I used to just drive around in my little Mitsubishi Mirage, fit and accessories. And then I bought an Evo 4 Lancer. And then I had started the shop because all these people, like retail-wise, were asking where can I buy the stuff, and they would come around to my house. So I thought, well, I'll take the punt, and we had a shop. So when I had the shop, I was open Saturday, so I couldn't really go away motor racing anymore. So that's when I resigned from the V8 Supercar team. And not long after that, Chris sold the car and concentrated on business for a while, and then he eventually got back into it again. So he's got like a BA Falcon, like the last BA Falcon that Stone Brothers built. It's a Haviland. It's got Haviland stickers on the side. It was an old Besno car. So so that was my V8 Supercar thing. I've got another. Okay, I've got a rally out at a Bathurst story. All right. So, young kid with a mullet, first time being at Bathurst, and the drivers were Kevin Bartlett, Brad Jones, Fitzgerald, and some Japanese guy, I forget. So anyway, we qualified 10th or 11th or something like that. Anyway, so the first corner, you're around the straight, and the first corner left up the hill corner. Some cars punted another car into Brad Jones, and it's into the fence.
Yeah.
So we do hill corner, probably about 300 or 400 metres up on the left-hand side, the car's into the fence.
Oh.
And this is before mobile phones or anything like that. So Murph said to me, Geoff, run down and see if the car's okay, because the driver just got out of the car and left it. So I've run down there, and there's no officials around the car. And I'm sort of, well, what's going on? I've got a rally art shirt on, so I look half official. I jumped the fence. I'm young and stupid. I didn't know. So I jumped the fence and I popped the bonnet. Well, the radiators hadn't hit the fan or anything like that. This would probably still drive. The front was all crumpled or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's no tow trucks or nothing. There's no officials around. And there's all these cars. I'm thinking, I'll just drive it back. So it's left-hand drive. I've hopped in it and just backed it back, and I've just driven it along the fence. And there's a road that goes into the caravan park where you go to the camping. Yeah. So I've just driven into that, and then we were up the top end of the paddock and just parked in the thing and put a cover onto it. And then I've gone down the pits and, where's the car? Man, I've driven it back. And they've gone, what? I just drove it back, mate. It's parked, it's got a cover on it, it's under control. Let's worry about the car that's running. Yeah. So I've driven Bathurst.
With no license, no CAMS license.
Nothing. No helmet, no seat, nothing. But there was no officials near it. So got to get the car back.
What else are you going to do? Yeah. Just using your initiative.
Well, sort of. Now, when I started working in V8 Supercars, I just realised how wrong that was.
Oh, yeah. They're probably going to...
What am I going to do? Like nowadays, car crashes, there's 50 people around it.
Oh, yeah. I hope they never see this clip.
That was in the past, I think it was 85.
Yeah, oh, you're laughing then. Yeah.
It was 85, yeah.
You probably had a cigarette hanging out your mouth at the same time.
No, I didn't smoke. So I had a couple
endorsed by all the smoke brands.
I just want to go back to Brendon for a minute, because he mentioned about car builders and stuff like that. Now, just to take the piss out of you a little bit, now you're the pretty face of the team, aren't you?
Thanks, mate. I've been called worse. I don't want to take that. Poster child. Hollywood, as Adrian calls me.
That's it. Yeah. That's the word.
Ace is another guy behind the scene. Look, there's a few of us there. Now there's about 7 of us. But Ace is my cousin and partner. And he's the guy behind all the social media. So all the videos you see, everything, he's the one editing him. We call him Adrian Spielberg. That's what we call him in-house. He does a good job. It's definitely one of his strengths. He's got a love for cars, but he's not the hands-on tech. I suppose that's me as the person that's built and played and learnt the hard way, like all of us, of what sort of right and wrong and what you can actually do. But it's not a one-man show. There's, there are a lot of people to go into it, but Adrian's the other man behind it. There's a few personalities there that we're growing. Good. So good opportunity for us too in that niche that we're in with thermal and acoustic products, because
what made you get into that to start with?
Look, it wasn't planned. It's just where we ended up, and it's one of those things. I actually did my apprentice. Well, I was work experience. As a auto upholsterer. One of Dad's mates up the road from his yard was a motor trimmer. And, didn't know what I wanted to be, like, even to all the kids out there, they put this pressure on you to work out what you want to be from a young age. And I finished year 12 and didn't know what I wanted to do. But previous to that, I had worked at the motor trimmers, school holidays, that sort of thing. As I said, ended up going and doing industrial design purely because they had these cool scale models that you could build this scale car that you design yourself. So I didn't care what the rest of the course was. It was just the fascination. I like building models, and a young bloke, made the Revell models, all that sort of thing. I actually rode BMX, freestyle stuff on ramps, and, we always made parts. So mechanically minded in that sense of you're breaking parts, the stuff wasn't there, you'd start hand making all your stuff. So you've got to get an idea of that process, which I think your bike as a kid, it's your only means of personal freedom. And I think as soon as I turned 18 and got a car, and you mentioned you had Jasmine there, I was big in the mini truck scene in the late 90s, which was...
Really?
Yeah, heavily influenced by the BMX crowd. Some of the pro riders here, you know, they had toured the States in the 90s, and that whole sport truck scene, they sort of have brought back here. So I was influenced through that BMX scene, and there's a few guys actually of my sort of vintage that are into that mini truck scene, and it's sort of the roots when you find all these guys, they come back through the BMX scene, which is kind of funny.
Well, yeah. That's how it's all happened. Yeah.
And I think probably my age group were influenced by that sort of American hip hop culture where they were into the lowriders.
So early 20s we're talking here?
Oh, I'd like to think so. I'm going to sort of say born after 1980. That whole MTV sort of thing of all those guys with the lowriders, and we got heavily into that airbag suspension scene as it sort of initiated. Yeah. And we were trying to make, you know, we were making mini trucks hop, you know, with super fast half-inch manual.
Right, eh?
You couldn't go and buy a valve block. We were going direct to like SMC Valve Company and buying valves and putting them together ourselves and wire them up. And we'd go down to Pertec, you know, to get lines made. And the guys would be just going, "What are you doing? You guys are crazy." And then you'd eventually roll in there with a finished thing that's on air, and nobody had anything on the air back then. And you'd lay it out on the ground, and they'd be just, "What? You've wrecked a perfectly good ute, mate. You can't even." So it was that whole fascination back then of having something that just was, you know, push the boundaries. The good thing was though, we were using, you know, going through the whole engineering process and engineering vehicles through VAS certification. And a lot of guys, particularly in the US, they don't have that. So
no.
We got hit with from a young age. We thought that was normal. We didn't realise that, you know, what we were building was above par.
Yeah.
So we built some. I think one of the standout cars that we did that was more street cred in that sense was a 90 model Rodale that we channeled. I'm trying to think what it was. We did what's called a stock floor body drop, which instead of just channeling the car, big can it and losing all that space, we'd cheat it through the rails, cut the rails down a bit, lower the body mounts, section the floor, do all that. And probably, I think we only pulled about less than an inch on something that was channeled 3 inches. We only lost about an inch of interior vertical height.
Wow.
Which, you know, it's all packaging when you start doing that. And when you cut that firewall and you've got to re-put the heater box in there, you know, you start to ruin stuff pretty quick. So we learnt the hard work. I think learnt the hard work from a young age. And once we learnt to weld, there was sort of no stopping us.
So are you still into mini trucks now?
Oh, I like to think I've grown up and I've got, now I figure, why buy a small Japanese thing when you can buy something that's already got a V8 in it? So what we call the full size pickup, you know, your Chevs and that sort of thing. They're just easier to work with. We're doing stupid stuff to these Hiluxes and stuff, tubbing them to the bonnet and moving brake boosters behind the cab. And you go, unfortunately, it's still a 1990 Rodeo. If I had done it to like, you know, something from the 50s, I'd actually be able to get some money back out of it. Which you learn the hard way. But
that's just cars.
It's just cars, isn't it? I mean, you don't discriminate. You got guys into all different segments. Me, I'm a pickup guy. I like pickups because they're modular. They're like, you can lengthen the wheelbase. They're full chassis. There's so many variants on them. You can lift them and lower them. So it's something that's soft for me. There's those vehicles. But if you look at, you know, having an influence or being exposed to design, and you have an appreciation probably for every 3 or 4 years, you could pull a car from any manufacturer and go, I think that one is the peak of design in where styling was at that time.
Now, Geof, just on that, because you kind of interest me because you're not just a hot rodder, are you? Because you said you've got a hot rod and you like just different things, don't you?
Well, yeah, I'm lucky enough that, well, I suppose, you know, I started at Mitsubishi, so I've got that.
Do you own a Mitsubishi?
Yeah, I've got an Evo 10 Lancer.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got 2 Starions. So I've got like a JA Starion, which I imported from Japan, like one owner, 42,000 Ks, automatic digital dash, climate control, grandpa spec.
Yeah, perfect.
Really slow, but it's really smooth and quiet, and it's, you know, it's white grey interior. and then I've got a JB Starion, which is JB was the Go Fast version of the Starions here in Australia. But JB. So they had JA, JB, JD, and so the JB one's got a whole 110 kilowatts. So, but I've got a silver one with those, and it's like brand new.
Is that the Jackie Chan?
Yeah, it's like your Jackie Chan's JA, but yeah, so
that's
Jackie Chan's like 82, 83. JA's 84, 85.
Oh, okay. Similar in shape?
Pardon?
Glass hatch, very similar in shape, are they?
Yeah. The bonnet's different. That's the only. So the JA's got like the scoops and the vents in it, whereas the JB is just like a smooth bonnet.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Inside's pretty much the same. The injection's a bit different, but so yeah. So that's the Mitsubishis I've got. Yeah. Well, I suppose when I was working at MTech, we saw all different types of cars coming in, and then when I sold MTech, I had enough money to buy a cool car, and I bought like a HG Monaro. So it's black. At the time, I had 308. Black interior, centre lines, decent sized wheels on the back, like the Adelaide hubcaps, centre lines.
Yeah. I was gonna make a comment, but I thought I'd better not.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
But hey, look, don't get me wrong. If I could have centre lines on one of mine, I would. I love them. I absolutely love them. Yeah, my go-to wheel.
So I've had that since 2006, that Monaro, and it's got a 383 in it now. Yeah. Finally, I went last year. I put a 383 in it, so it's it's probably like an 11-second car now. So I think it's
really
pretty good.
Yeah.
So there's that. I've got a 64 Corvette, a red 64 Corvette. So bought that. Oh, back in 2004, I went to a friend of mine, Mark Paul. He's ex-V8 supercar driver, and he's in the Porsches here in Adelaide. He's a really good, well-known Porsche garage. I went to his wedding in Austria. So the first Porsches were made in Gmund, Austria. And I went to the wedding over there. So there's a Porsche convention every 2 years. He went over there with Kevin Petter from Petter Suspensions. They're driving to Gmund. Porsche's broken down on the side of the road. He pulls over to help him out. Pretty skinny blonde. 2 years later, he's married to her.
All right, yeah.
So we went back to Gmund at the Porsche Festival for a wedding.
Yeah.
So I'm at this wedding, and there's like 3, 5, 6 Porsches everywhere. Yeah. And that was where I sort of had the appreciation for those. Yeah. So back in 2004, when I still had MTech, I went to the Summer Nats. I used to have a stand at the Summer Nats every year. And like I sold like $25,000 worth of gear at the Summer Nats, which was, really good. So I've come back from the Summer Nats and I've gone to Paulie, mate, if you can find me a 356, let me know. So he found me one. It was like 40 grand.
Yeah.
So I went to the bank, borrowed the rest of the money, sort of thing, and I had like a 356. So it's white, red interior. It's a 356B. It's got electric sunroof, stuff like that. So at the time I thought it was a nice car.
They are. They're gorgeous. Yeah.
And then 18 months ago or 2 years ago, like I had it in a car park and someone came in and hit the left-hand rear of it and just creased it and then knocked it forward. So the front valance got smacked as well. So it's a double hit. And so I took it to Andrew Auto Transformers and I said, oh, look, can we fix that? Yeah, we can fix that sort of thing. And it's insured with Shannon. So they come out, yeah, no worries, we'll fix that. But we're going to paint this bit of the car. What do you want to do with the other 50-year-old paint on that side of the car? and I had some money saved up for another project I was going to build. I thought, oh, that's all right. We should be able to paint a car for 20 grand, surely.
It's only little.
It's only little. And then we started pulling apart, and it was Swiss cheese. It was like a piece of crap. So 40 grand later, so I sold 3 cars and a credit card. And I've got like a new 356.
Beautiful. But they really are gorgeous. They are really nice cars.
It's a fancy Volkswagen, but I mean, I've been lucky enough that when I bought, like, they're worth a lot of money now.
Yeah.
So those cars that I've just said that I've got, they're like my superannuation that I can drive. That's how I sort of look at them.
Yeah, but that's a good way. Yeah, but it's kind of nice because you've got a real variety there. It's not just look, I've got pretty much the same make and model, but it's nice to know that you've got a few different varieties. We're all different. We all like different stuff, but you've got a pretty wide variety there. Hot rods.
I sort of fell into the hot rods, because I do the Adelaide Auto Expo, so there's hot rods and street machines and all sorts of stuff. And then, a friend we got in common, like Greg, he had the 32 Roadster and he had like the 32 Coupe.
Yep.
And then he was going to build both, and then he had some bad experiences, and then he had a bad experience with a panel shop, and he took him to court. Yeah. And the only people that won out of that were the lawyers.
Yeah.
So he was over both of those 32s, and he said, "Oh, look, I'm over these. Do you want them both?" And I'm thinking, I don't really want both. I'll just be happy with the Roadster. But the price was right, and and the Coupe. The Coupe was one of Adelaide's nicest hot rods, and he pulled it apart to rebuild it to be like a superstar car, and it just didn't work out. So I'm thinking, well, that's all right. So I took them both on.
You're in the right place at the right time.
Went to the bank, borrowed some money, bought some cars. So, as you do. So they were company cars, I'm sure they were. So no, they weren't, Taxman. No, they weren't.
Yeah, that's right. All right, pretty safe. No Taxman will be watching this.
That's it. So anyway, so the black one I built first, and I suppose that was my practice at building like a hot rod.
Yeah.
And then the silver one, I had a grumpy old hot rodder called John. Helped me with it, John Alexander.
Yeah.
And he helped put that car together. So Greg bought this car from Queensland. It was called Chili. It was a nice car. And then he pulled it apart. And John was disappointed that it got pulled apart.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get John involved in it, like its resurrection.
Oh, yeah.
So I got John to help me put it together, and we put car builder stuff in it. You'll be happy with that. Both of the hot rods got car builder stuff in it.
Good plug, mate. Good plug.
Nice to give him a stubby holder and a hat too. Goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah. So John, he helped me sort of build this car, and then we took it to the panel shop, and we I sold on the colour, which was silver, and the guy who owns the panel shop, Adam at Southern Classics and Customs, his wife Jody, we couldn't work out what colour silver, and she said, I like that one. I was like, yeah, that's it, and we'll call that Jody Silver. So, that's what it's called. It's actually off like a 62 Mercedes Benz, like 300 SL. That's where the colour come from.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, when the chassis come back from there, I've looked at, I've gone, oh no, this is like an elite car. This isn't. Oh, shit, I'm gonna have to step it up now. So when I bought all the stuff from Greg, there was a whole, cupboards full of stuff. Well, I couldn't use any of that because that was all second hand. So I get the credit card out again. And build it.
Like a true car nut does. Yeah. Now, I'm just going to go back to Brendon because I'm not sure what you're sitting in front of. I can't work it out.
See if you can guess it. Look, she has seen better days. See if I can give you a sweep of.
Is that your Hilux or something? Is it?
Rodeo. No, this is. You can see. That is a Rodeo. You've got it there.
Yeah, Rodeo.
So this is a bit of fun. This car, and it's really one of those taxman things that you suggested.
It's company car to you. 100% tax deduction.
There is now. This is just to demonstrate a couple of paint coatings, really. So one of one of the boys that I worked at Holden with, and he's a country boy, grew up in Nil on lots of acres, and there's what he used to do back in when he was going to university, and actually his brother is an engineer at Ford, and he's worked at GM and all that sort of stuff, and he does all the proving ground driving, a brake engineer actually. Now these country boys can drive, and what they used to do back when they were going to uni in the 90s is they were buying cars out of the trading post for bugger all, XDs, 14s, that sort of thing. They'd get permits and drive them from Melbourne all the way up to Nil, and then they'd get on the piss and just destroy these cars over a weekend period. So a bit smarter these days, less the alcohol. What we do is Russell organises a thing called the Shit Eat Cup. So we thought, we've got to get on this. And what we'll do is we'll get a car. And actually, this was a mini truck. Like, this has got shaved door handles, roll pan, all that sort of thing. And I bought it. a dealer must have done his nuts on it because it's got a chassis notch in it, which is done correct, but unengineered. He's traded this thing with 300,000 Ks. What's he going to do with it? We saw it on eBay. I think I ended up paying $500 for it. And I thought the last car I had before this was an Escort panel van. But those cars are so old, you put them through a paddock and they just fall apart.
Yeah.
And lower control arms fell off and tipped it over.
And a bit rare to be doing that with now too.
Yeah, well, it was an Escort panel van. I cut it into a ute and we did it as the Moffat race special. And what we do is you only paint one side because we photograph them from one side and to get the hero shot. But I thought, no, I'm getting something stronger this round. Full chassis, widen the track width, torsion bar front end we can wind up.
Yeah.
So what we did, we got this Rodeo, which is a 90 model space cab. And then I remember back to my childhood, I had this remote control car by Tyco, which was at all the toy shops, called the Bandit. And it was actually a Nissan. It was a Nissan Navara King Cab, same sort of thing. So we mocked this thing up in the same paint job, using the textured paints that everyone, their bedliner paints as such. But everyone's using them as underbody, that sort of thing. And now the full drive guys are doing whole exteriors. So we thought, what better than we'll paint this up as the Bandit, use the texture coats, we'll go out and race it, test the paint coatings.
Yep.
So it's probably, out of all the cars I've built, this one was built just out of the rear bar I built out of the kid's old trampoline that was rusting out to get the It was a bit of a piss take, and it's probably the most fun because I haven't cared about the car at all.
Exactly. They usually are. That's mad.
And I've actually just moved at home because we've run out of room in the warehouse, and we're sick of moving it in and out. So I've parked it here for the moment. And my oldest son, he's 13 now. Like you said there, Geoff, Hot Wheels collection, same sort of thing. Bribed him from a young guy. Every time you go to these shops, he's backed off now, but it was Hot Wheels.
Really?
They're up to about 1,800 in the collection. So I am guilty of his obsession. But he goes, Dad, you better start that thing. You know it won't start. And I've got the key, just reached in.
Oh, it is.
There's your mini truck.
That's it. That's it. He's got the 1200 there, the 1200 ute. And funnily enough, which you do say about the stories there, and I think back to, all this OH&S thing kills me, and it'll probably kill you guys too of your generation. I'd go to work with my dad, and I remember I learnt to drive when I was about 9 in a 80 model Hilux SR5, which was the yellow one with white sun rays and rubber flares sticking out, which was the work ute.
Yeah.
And at 9, we were on a country property, and I'd be driving just up and down the driveway all day, which might have been 3 or 4 Ks long.
Yeah.
And I think those Hiluxes there, I got an obsession with too, from Back to the Future.
Yeah. Where it's come from.
Yeah, my first car was that same Hilux extra cab, but a 2-wheel drive that turned into a mini truck, and got carried away with.
All right,
so
guys,
it's funny,
we're gonna
influential movies too.
Yeah. We're gonna have to finish this up because we're really about to run out of time. I reckon we've got about a minute left before we finish. We've actually gone. It's been good.
That's part 2.
Yeah, well, I think we're better. Yeah, so we will catch up now. So thanks for talking on Shootin The Breeze this week. It's been really good. Thanks, Brendon. Thanks, Geoff. It's been awesome. And we'll have to catch up in the near future, I think. Yeah, to catch up, finish up some of these stories. Yeah, it's been good.
Okay.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
No
Thank
problem.
you. See ya.
All right. Cheers, guys.